Imagine a dream of empire, but not in Europe, right in the heart of America. Today, we're unearthing one of Mexico's most fascinating and tragic stories, the Second Mexican Empire and its protagonists, Emperors Maximilian and Carlota. How did an Austrian Archduke come to rule Mexico, and why did his reign end in the most traumatic way possible? Stick around to find out. The origins, a turbulent Mexico, and foreign ambitions. To understand this empire, we have to travel to mid-19th century Mexico, a country exhausted and divided after the Reform War, with empty coffers. President Benito Juárez, in a desperate move, suspended foreign debt payments. The response? A European intervention. Spain, Great Britain, and France arrived in Mexico to collect. But the French Emperor Napoleon III had an ace up his sleeve. He dreamed of a satellite empire in America. The others realized his intentions and withdrew, leaving France with a clear path. And here's a key factor: the Mexican conservatives. Defeated by Juárez, they sought support in Europe, proposing a monarchy to restore their power. An internal invitation that gave Napoleon III the perfect pretext. So the empire wasn't just an invasion, but an explosive cocktail of internal weakness and external ambition. The arrival, pomp, and reality. And so, on July 10, 1863, a junta of notables, hand-picked, offered the crown to Archduke Ferdinand Maximilian of Austria. He, influenced by his ambitious wife, Princess Carlota of Belgium, accepted. Carlota saw in Mexico an opportunity to shine. On May 28, 1864, Maximilian and Carlota disembarked in Veracruz. It said they were awakened by an artillery salute, a pompous reception, but one that hid a very different reality. From the start, things got tough. Maximilian wanted to form a Belgian guard, but it was a disaster. Few wanted to go to a distant country with no clear future, and those who arrived were beardless boys who let themselves be killed like flies, according to Maximilian himself. The lack of prestige and rejection in Belgium meant military support was more a myth than a reality. The empire was born on very, very unstable foundations. Here comes the great paradox. Maximilian, the monarch imposed by conservatives, turned out to be a liberal. Yes, you heard that right. He ratified the laws of disentailment of the church, alienating those who had brought him. He promulgated the Provisional Statute of the Empire, guaranteeing human and labor rights. He divided the country into 50 departments, created the Bank of Mexico, and established freedom of worship and habeas corpus. He even abolished child labor, restricted working hours, and eliminated the dreaded tiendas de raya, company stores. He tried to return lands to indigenous communities. And he immersed himself in Mexican culture. He practiced charreria, translated decrees into Nahuatl, and was the first ruler to give the cry of independence in Dolores Hidalgo. But all these reforms, progressive for their time, were his downfall. Conservatives felt betrayed. They wanted him to reverse Juárez, not to surpass him. Maximilian was left without support, isolated between liberals who hated him and conservatives who abandoned him. An unsustainable situation. Carlota, the Empress fights alone. Carlota wasn't just the emperor's wife. She was a political force. She assumed the regency when Maximilian traveled, becoming Mexico's first female ruler. She clashed with the church, refusing to yield privileges, which further alienated her from the conservatives. When the empire was crumbling, Carlota embarked on a desperate mission to Europe in 1866. She went to Paris to demand that Napoleon III keep his word, but the confrontation was brutal. Napoleon refused, and Carlota, furious, reproached him for his betrayal. Afterwards, she sought help from Pius IX, who also denied it. The pressure was too much. Empress Carlota succumbed to madness, believing they wanted to poison her. She lived until 1927, a life marked by tragedy and the memory of a failed empire. Her last words summed it up. All that ended without having achieved success. The resistance and the French farewell. From day one, the empire had a relentless enemy, the Republican forces of Benito Juárez. Although Juárez had to move around the country, his figure was the banner of sovereignty. The resistance didn't stop. At the same time, conservative discontent grew. Maximilian, by maintaining liberal reforms, earned the nickname traitor among those who had invited him. Without internal support, the empire depended on one thing: France. But in Europe, Napoleon III's situation became complicated. The United States, free from its civil war, applied the Monroe Doctrine: get out of America. Furthermore, Prussia threatened, and the Mexican adventure was expensive and unpopular. In January 1866, Napoleon ordered the withdrawal. By February 1867, the last French troops had left Mexico. Maximilian was left alone, vulnerable, and with a sealed fate. Despite everything, Maximilian decided to stay. He entrenched himself in Querétaro, but the Republican forces, under the command of General Mariano Escobedo, besieged him. On March 14, 1867, after a brutal siege, Maximilian and his loyal generals, Miramón and Mejía, were captured. There were pleas for clemency from all over the world, but Juárez was unyielding. His message was clear: Mexico would not accept any more imposed monarchs. On June 19, 1867, on the Cerro de las Campanas, Maximilian, Miramón, and Mejía were executed by firing squad. Maximilian's last words: "May my blood seal the misfortunes of my new homeland. Viva México!" The execution was not just the end of an empire, it was the consolidation of republicanism and Mexico's sovereignty. A decisive act that closed decades of conflict and affirmed the nation's independence. The Second Empire, though failed, left a complex legacy. It strengthened national identity and reaffirmed the republic. Some of Maximilian's reforms, such as labor rights and urban planning, El Paseo de la Reforma, were surprisingly ahead of their time. But there were also shadows. His colonization projects to attract defeated Southern Americans, though they didn't materialize, included conditions that some historians interpret as a system of quasi-slavery, a controversial attempt at economic development. The history of the Second Mexican Empire, with Maximilian and Carlota at its helm, is a crucial chapter. It teaches us how foreign ambitions and internal divisions can intertwine. Maximilian and Carlota's story is a reminder that imposing political models from the outside is a recipe for failure and personal tragedy. But above all, it's a testament to Mexico's resilience and its unwavering will to be a free and sovereign nation. What surprised you most about this story? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that will make you see the past through different eyes. Until next time. A production by Adrian Duarte Aguilar from Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico.